I knew this from episode 3 or 4 that I'm off Osha and May. I don't give a shit about their storyline. The Acolyte finale aired last night. There's been a lot of debate going on about this show since it started. Star Wars fans are in shambles, and I use air quotes because I don't know how you can be a fan of something when you haven't liked anything the franchise has been doing since like Return of the Jedi. Don't know how you can still be a fan of something since you haven't liked anything since the beginning. We all have thoughts on the Acolyte. Brett, why don't you kick us off? What did you like about it? What did you hate about it?
I think it's Disney's most uneven of their live-action shows. It felt like a lot of setup and getting the pieces where they need to be so that season 2 hit the ground running. My biggest complaints in it are, especially in the first half, I think this is a show that will be remembered more about like kind of how it stuck the landing. I think the back half of that show is far, far stronger than the first half. The show's biggest problem is it's a main character problem. Osha and May are the least interesting characters of the show. Yep. And that's your biggest problem when they're supposed to be like the ones that carry the show. Now, I will say, where they end and leave them gearing up for season 2 is far more interesting. And I'm like, okay, now that we're here, like, cool. I'm excited to see where their paths take them. The show's greatest strength is kind of like its concepts. Plagueis shows up, ladies and gentlemen. And this is so perfect because it fits right exactly in a wonderful little pocket of Plagueis's life that we don't know exactly where he, like, what was going on. They're just slightly adjusting the time frame on when it happened.
It seems like the major criticism, the vitriol that's coming from the real Star Wars fans is towards those plot details where they either retcon things or added things to canon that maybe Star Wars fans felt like shouldn't be added yet by these people or whatever. I couldn't disagree more. I think that's, like you said, Brett, I think that's where it shines, honestly, is telling a unique Star Wars story in universe. Does it retcon a few things? Sure, maybe a little bit, but any real Star Wars fan
that's like very important. You're just adjusting when things happen and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And if you grew up reading like the Timothy Zahn books or something like that, you're used to, okay, I have to adjust kind of what I think is canon.
After Plagueis and his previous master fought and he killed his master, they did it on this planet called Baldemnik. And they were there because of its deposits of cortosis, which is what Khmer / the Stranger's like armor and helmet is made of, that metal that diffuses lightsabers.
Yeah.
And then they have that question at the very end, which is like, who taught us that rhyme?
Who taught us that rhyme? I thought you made it up.
And it's like, it's obviously Plagueis. It's obviously Plagueis, and this was his attempt at making a dyad in the Force.
Right.
Which is something that they kind of like retroactively stated that like the rule of 2 with the Sith was an attempt to artificially create a dyad in the Force. Now, whether you're pro that slight retcon or not, it doesn't really change anything. It just adds to the fact that they were trying to get more power for themselves, right?
Absolutely.
And that fits right in line with the Sith. It makes what Anakin was even more important. Yeah. Because it means that like Plagueis has been trying this for a while and it hasn't worked out the way he wanted, and Anakin was the Force's answer of like, bro, stop with this.
Yep.
We're gonna bring balance.
Yep.
And it fits really well in with what Disney has been doing, where they take concepts and ideas from the EU, but then they kind of like take bits here and there and they craft an original version of it. One that I loved was when Sol is chasing Mai through the rings of the planet, which was a great little sequence. If you look at it, the helmet she's wearing has that phoenix symbol, which at the time is the symbol of the Jedi Council and all that. But that's the symbol that eventually morphs into the Rebel symbol. And then what's Sol doing? He's following on a tracker that is basically like Darth Vader's.
For me, where it falls is, and this is not a criticism specific to the Acolyte, this is a criticism that I also would put towards Ahsoka, that I would put towards a lot of Marvel TV properties. There's this, because Disney is this corporation, it's cranking out these pieces now, there are these standardized ways of shooting things, of lighting things, of writing things, of dialogue, of casting. There's all these standard ways of doing things that they do for efficiency, they do for cost, but what it ends up doing is sacrificing originality and creativity, even down to things like camera work, and it leads to everything feeling a little stiff, a little staged. The fight choreography in the show is really, really good, and episode 5 really shows that off, but I don't think that it's filmed boilerplate. It's filmed in a lot of wides. It's filmed like we're used to seeing all this stuff filmed. If you took the approach that they took with that final episode fight with everything, you'd have a much, I think you'd have a much more compelling show. But I do not think that the show suffers from the plot or the story being told at all. One of my favorite things about it, and detractors who have this image of like the Jedi Order from the prequels, maybe, where they think that they're this completely righteous organization that's never wrong, and so they're let down by this. The prequels shows the Jedi Order to be extremely flawed, extremely arrogant, extremely stuck up their own ass.
Like, it's been going on for a while, guys, in a way.
Yeah.
And just like Luke then says in Last Jedi, it's like, maybe it kind of was the Jedi's time. Like, maybe they kind of needed that fall.
Yeah.
The legacy of the Jedi is failure, hypocrisy, hubris.
That's not true.
I don't care about the midichlorians.
What are midichlorians?
It's heroin.
Or Anakin's supposed to be the only one born from the Force, and these people who are like just hinging on these things that were set up from the prequels, which they hate, and putting in applying it to every Star Wars property that comes out. The best thing about this show is the fact that they are telling this Jedi story that's like, no, these might be the bad guys, the Jedi story of it, right? We're not looking at them as these like all-knowing, all-powerful, mindful heroes. We're looking at them as flawed human beings who make a lot of up decisions. I think Soul is a very interesting character because I still don't know whether or not I like him. I don't know. I like his character because he is very complex. That's great. My issue with the Acolyte is they killed off all the best characters. They got rid of every character who might be a character who you want to follow and understand the storyline of. The only saving grace of this show is the Stranger. If we get a fleshed out Stranger character and the background story, I'm with it. But I don't care about Osha and May. I really have no patience for any of those characters, and I'm sorry to say because I love this actress, but Amandla is bad in this. She's very bad, and it might not be her acting. It could be
I think it's the directing.
I felt a complete disconnect for the emotional grasp of that show at the end, and I was looking forward to the last episode because I really got pulled back in from 6 and 7, but there was no emotion for me because she couldn't portray it. They are putting in so much pressure on this character to be the focus of this story, and that character is not delivering. I knew this from episode 3 or 4 that I'm off Osha and May. I don't give a shit about their storyline because I'm not compelled by them. Like, it's just not something about the way that it's acted or directed or the script is not giving me any attachment to these characters, and I think that is their major flaw.
I remember seeing behind the scenes for when Survivor, the Jedi Survivor was being made, them talking about every decision that they wanted to put in the game had to be run through a team from Disney, but Lucas's people that were just true fans, and they're the team to make sure that nothing goes
Dave
against
Filoni
the canon.
is the head of that team.
Exactly.
Head of that.
So doing things like having a character bleed the Kyber crystal in front of you in Survivor, that was run by many, many people who need to be the people setting the precedent for what's in the canon, not random people on YouTube. And to carry that through into things like bleeding the lightsaber out in this and stuff, and Plagueis and stuff like this is run through by a team. This is the official canon. You might not like the decisions, but it's not just one lady coming in and up your Star Wars.
Exactly.
This is Star Wars proper
it's not
making
her
decisions.
Decision. Filoni's involved. Favreau's involved. All the people that you like are involved in this.
Yep.
Look, the show is not bad because it's woke, and it's not bad. It's actually pretty good. It's just
flawed. That's all.
It's flawed.
It's just flawed.
And I will say that the reasons it's bad are the reason that all of these giant corporate productions are bad. And this is not a problem unique to Star Wars The Acolyte or anything like that. Drop in the comments who you want to see as a young Palpatine if he does enter into this story. Who would you cast, young Palpatine? Let us know.
Do it.
This might be the only like objective Acolyte conversation ever had.
No.
Maybe it's possible.